Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my stepdaughter's wedding? I've been in my stepdaughter's life since she was 11. She was dealing with so much and was understandably mad at everyone, including me. She was dealing with a chronic condition, her parents' separation, and leaving her family and friends after her mom moved to my hometown. My stepdaughter ended up with last-stage kidney failure. She was on dialysis for over 9 months. I stayed home with her and I spent a lot of time with doctors trying to learn about different machines. She had many blood transfusions and was admitted to the hospital several times. Her mom wasn't there much because she had to work. So I was the one who stayed home and took care of her. It got too much for us, so we decided that I'd get tests done to see if I could be a potential donor. I was a match. I donated one of my kidneys in 2017, and thankfully there were no problems after the surgery. Her recovery was complete a few months later, but because she had other health issues, she continued to need medical attention. Her now fiancé proposed to her after she was discharged from the hospital, and they're getting married in February. She's 23 now, studying in an online college and doing okay. Her mom and I don't share finances. My work nature is different, and I don't get money as a monthly salary. My only truck, which I use to make a living, is my main source of income, but I'm capable of providing for the family. My stepdaughter stopped visiting. She used to call me a lot, call me dad, and check on me regularly. But I heard that she's been spending more time with her biological dad and visiting him and his new wife. That in itself is not a bad thing. But one time when she visited, she and her mom asked if I could help pay for her wedding, and I agreed. However, my stepdaughter seemed distant and no longer had heart-to-heart conversations with me. She talked to her mom, and her mom would relay messages to me instead. It turned out that she had accepted her bio dad back into her life and said that no matter what happened, he's her dad. I respected her decision. But last night, I argued with my wife after my stepdaughter told her to ask me not to come to her wedding because her bio dad would be there. I was confused. I asked why, and she said that her bio dad didn't want me there, and she wanted him to be comfortable. I felt awful. My wife told me to be more understanding, but I told her that I would not be paying if I wasn't allowed to come. She should ask her real dad to pay. My wife acted shocked and said that this might ruin my relationship with her daughter. But from what I can see, her bio dad's opinion is more important to her anyway. I refused to pay and told my wife I wouldn't discuss it further. She said my stepdaughter would be disappointed and that I shouldn't punish her because of her bio dad. But I'm not. I simply won't take this treatment and be pushed aside as if I don't matter. From what I understand, her bio dad is contributing money to the wedding. My wife insists that no matter what decision my stepdaughter makes, I need to respect it. And I am. I'm not saying her bio dad shouldn't be there, but they need to understand that I won't be paying for the wedding if I'm not even welcome at it. Her bio dad clearly doesn't want me there, and my stepdaughter's listening to him for some reason. He and I have never been on good terms. He was always neglectful, especially during his daughter's illness, but somehow he claimed that I'm the neglectful one and that my stepdaughter shouldn't have been living with me. Story 2. Update: my 28M husband, 27M, just came out as straight. So we've been married for like 3 years and dated for about 2. In total, 5 years of a gay relationship. We're 2 men, have always been 2 men, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. My husband and I have had a rather healthy relationship for the most part. Of course, we have minor arguments every now and then, but what relationship is perfect? In the end, we always resolved them, and our affection would continue as normal. This is kind of why I'm really confused by what's going on with us. Why now? I'm a Christian. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of that, but gay Christians do exist. My husband was agnostic, not necessarily an atheist, just wasn't completely on board with any religion. And that's fine. I would have supported him if he found peace in literally anything. He didn't need to become a Christian, and honestly, as selfish as this sounds, I wish he didn't. I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, but he changed so drastically afterwards, and I miss the man he used to be. It was a slow start. He asked me about verses from the Bible, we went to church, he even fasted for Lent. Christmas this year was much more than just presents, and I was happy that I had this piece of me to share with him now. I was raised religious and struggled with my identity. If it weren't for other queer Christians, I would have left Christianity. I was glad that I still had these things we could bond over, but it kept ramping up. All of a sudden, he's going to church more than I am, which is perfectly fine. He's always carrying a Bible with him and will randomly cite a verse when we're having political discussions. I've noticed his views have started to shift towards the right as well, and recently retweeted someone saying, "Your body, my choice." You're a twink. Women's reproductive rights don't concern you in the slightest. It kept ramping up. He started agreeing with the whole LGB minus the T crowd and started spewing harmful rhetoric about drag queens, as if we aren't friends with a bunch of them. When I told him that drag queens are much less likely to harm children than some pastors, he lost his shit saying I was a heathen and that his friends were right. This is the part that caught my attention. What friends? I asked him what he meant by that, and he started backtracking, saying he was tired and that we should go to bed. I was tired, and arguing didn't seem like it'd do us any good right now, so I put a pin in it and we got ready for bed. Our room has a bathroom connected, and usually we keep the door open. He takes a shower and makes sure to lock it, which was weird, but I didn't say anything about it. If he wants to set this boundary down, that's fine, but he could at least communicate it, like? The next day is a Sunday, and he's already out of bed, and I'm assuming at church. I get up and got ready, but once I arrived, I realized he wasn't there. That confused me. So after the service, I called him, asking him where he was. He tells me he's in church, but I told him I was here too and didn't see him. He clarifies he means the other. I'm not going to say the denomination because I don't want to cause any arguments. Church. This was news to me, especially because he never brought it up and still carried our Bible. I told him to send me the address and I'll pick him up so we can get brunch. But he tells me that he doesn't want his friends seeing me. That hurt. I asked him if we could at least meet up, and he said he'll see me at home. After a few hours, he finally comes home. He says we need to talk. I agreed. I wanted to ask him why he didn't want his friends seeing me. And as I opened my mouth to ask the question, he said, "I'm straight." I stared at him for a bit, and he continued, explaining that his church helped him realize he wasn't going to see the kingdom of God if he continued living in sin, and that he needed to leave me as soon as possible. He told them about the pastor comment I made last night, and they said that I was a devil trying to lure him away from Christ. He started repeating a lot of the same rhetoric I heard from other Christians growing up, and it really upset me. He even said that I could be saved, and that I already had the traditionally masculine look, and that I just needed to steer away from homosexuality. I feel like I'm in an alternate reality right now. I'm being told by the love of my life that I'm a devil, that needs to return to Christ because I shut down his homophobic rhetoric. My gay husband is being homophobic. I'm sorry, but not once in the 5 years we've been together did he realize he was suddenly straight. It just doesn't work like that. It's not like we're in some other universe where CumFOMO is a thing, right? I told him that he needed to leave and that we could discuss arrangements afterwards. I still want him, I love him, but I have no idea how he could look at me with a straight face and tell me all of that. He started arguing, saying that he didn't want to leave and that we could be friends, so I told him that I wouldn't be friends with a self-hating queer for the life of me. He packed a bag and left. His location shows he's at some random house I've never been to, but I assume that's one of the churchgoers he's friends with. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do from here. Did I seriously just lose my husband? I don't understand how this could happen. What can I do now? I miss him already. Update. Thank you to everyone who gave me genuine advice on my last post. I'll quickly answer some common questions. No, he does not have a family history of bipolar disorder or any other mental health disorder that would cause sharp changes. No, he isn't cheating on me with one of his church friends, but I will get more into this later. No, he isn't bi, I'm bi, and we've had conversations, and he said he experimented in high school, but it wasn't for him. I talked to his family and our friends about the whole thing. I explained we were separating because of his newfound faith and how he's acting. I told them about the shit he said, and they're all worried for me. I don't think that I'm in any sort of danger, honestly. I did talk to my church about this, and they told me that the church he's attending is notorious for this sort of thing. One of them will show up after a service and wait outside, and if someone is walking out alone, they'll come up to them and start chatting. They'll pretend they go here until they've talked to the person enough times to invite them to their church. Apparently, he was attending my church even on days where I wasn't. So he was alone a lot. It's really fucking predatory, and it low-key pisses me off that he was enjoying my church, and it led to him being taken away from me. I've had limited contact with him in the past few days. He came over last night saying he needed to talk to me. He didn't appreciate me contacting his parents and assured me that he is fine mentally. I wanted to start asking all the questions I've come up with since he left, but I didn't want to overwhelm him. I know he didn't cheat on me because that was the first question I asked. More so, are you leaving me because there's somebody else? His response was that he didn't want to leave me, but living in sin wasn't what he wanted anymore. How did he figure this out, you ask? After grilling him for an explanation, he finally admitted that he tried to cheat. The guy who kept coming to my church and basically recruited him was apparently so attractive that he would listen to anything he said. So he tried to cheat, failed, and went the full 180, and has decided being gay is the ultimate sin, not the fact that he tried to have an affair. This is actually going to drive me crazy. Finding out he wanted to cheat but didn't is almost worse because it's like, seriously? You tried and got rejected? That's embarrassing as shit for you and doubly embarrassing for me. I asked him if they knew he was married to a man, and he simply told them I was his gay roommate who turned him. And now that he's straight again, I've gone off the deep end. He's an actual fucking liar. He showed me some Bible verses, ones that were just blatantly different from the ones in mine, and kept trying to convince me that I need to change too. He said that he still cares about me and wants to be friends. I asked him what about our actual friends, and he said they're too far gone. He just kept talking, and I was done with it. He isn't the man I fell in love with, and it pisses me off. He wasn't even dressing the same anymore. Fucking white dress shirt and slacks, and the most boring hairstyle ever. He didn't look like my Anthony. The more he talked at me, the more it was clear I didn't want to be with the man he is now. He left, and for the second time in our life, he walked out that door without saying, "I love you," and I was fine with that. This morning I talked with my lawyer, and I'm going through with a divorce. After I was done, I stopped by where he was staying and knocked on the door, half wanting whoever owned the place to be there when I gave him the papers, half because I didn't want him coming to my home anymore. When the man opened the door, I realized this is who he was talking about, and it took a bit to keep my anger in. I asked for my husband, and when he saw me, the look in his eyes made it clear that he wasn't expecting this out of me. I made it clear to the other guy that I was handing my husband, gay husband, divorce papers to end our marriage, the gay one between two men. Us, we're those two men. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you wake up next to a man for 3 years out of your life, chances are you are a homosexual. So, sorry to break it to you. I won't be able to go into details of the proceedings themselves, but I'm going to completely distance myself from him as best I can. His actions have been horrible on my health, and his family and friends can handle him better than I can. I'm going to miss the man he used to be, but I have my people surrounding me. I'm going to be okay. I hope for his sake he'll snap out of this one day, because the self-hatred isn't healthy. But when he does, I won't fucking be there. Story 3. Update. My 27M wife, 28F, returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at loss. How do I move forward? I'm 27 million in a fight with my wife. 28 million. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read, while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain-check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23 million, was almost in every pic video attached to her hip. In one pic, he had his arm too comfortably around her IMO. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd question, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Update. I, 27 million, wanted to give an update and thank everyone who reached out. The outside perspectives helped. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife, 28F, and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter, 4F, and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up. But I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it, and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I tried keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23 million, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57 million. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55 degrees Fahrenheit, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and how when she was growing up, my mother-in-law never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents, but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mom, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It's much appreciated.